Hello, everybody. Welcome inside the Guilty as Charged podcast presented by the Blue Wire Podcast Network. I am your host, Stephen Haglund. We're doing this live for the first time today, going to preview the Chargers' upcoming matchup with the New England Patriots. And joining me to do that today are my guys, Tyler and Alex. Tyler, we'll start with you today, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. This is very exciting to be doing this live to preview it. I want to hear what you guys have to say. Obviously, you two, but also the people in the comments. What do you guys think about this game? The Chargers have not won since 2008 against the Patriots. How do you feel about this? I'm feeling pretty good. The bye week really helped me refresh, and I think I'm starting to find some clarity with this game, and I think I know how it's going to go.
Yeah, shout out to our guy, Riley Williams. I had not made that connection that had been since 2008 until I saw his tweet. I was a freshman in high school playing on the junior varsity football team when that happened. So a lot has obviously happened since that point, which is just kind of crazy. Alex, I don't even want to know how young you were because you're the youngest one on this show. But how are you doing today, man?
I was 9. And also
playing junior varsity.
Yeah, also junior varsity. Also, W. Bush was president. That was like 3 presidents ago.
Oh,
yeah. Long time.
It's been a while. But how are you doing, man?
Oh no, I'm doing really good.
Good. Sounds good. So, if you're watching this, of course, you can see by Alex's name. We do have to start today's show with the Chargers change at kicker. Tristan Vizcaino is on the practice squad currently, and the Chargers have brought in Dustin Hopkins. I talked to a certain beat reporter about this yesterday in an interview that will be posting tomorrow. But I wanted to get your guys' thoughts as well about the Chargers' decision to A, move on from Tristan Vizcaino, and B, specifically sign Dustin Hopkins. So, Alex, what is your initial take here about the kicking change?
I just think it had to happen, partially because of the Chargers being thrust into this, sort of contender state as a potential playoff team in the AFC, but also accountability, right? Brandon Staley, prides himself on kind of being the accountability coach. And if you cut KJ Hill because he's not performing well as a special team specialist, to me, you also had to cut Tristan Vizcaino. As much as there is, to say about development and all that, to me, it couldn't be one without the other. If you were going to move on from a special team specialist standpoint. So I think it had to happen. And to be honest, this could have happened 2 weeks ago after the Browns game, had that Chargers not gotten the ball back in that one. And I wouldn't have been surprised because then we would have been talking about Tristan Vizcaino specifically costing the Chargers a game in that one. So, I'm happy he's on the practice squad. You develop him and maybe see what you have a year from now. There's always the potential you can bring him back for next training camp and have him compete with Hopkins and, see what you want to do there. But yeah, for the time being, I think they needed an experienced kicker, someone who they're not afraid to put out there in the fourth quarter or whatever time in the game it is. And also make it so just from a game standpoint, they don't have to force themselves to go for it on 4th and 8 every time. You can take a field goal if it's a tie game or if it's, whatever the situation is, and have relative confidence that if it's under 50 yards, you can probably hit it. So I think that they just needed experience at the position. And going back to the preseason, it's also true that Vizcaino, it's eerily similar to 2018 when Caleb Sturgis won the job in the preseason. Right. And, it's sort of the same vibe with Vizcaino. They both play 6 games and then they're both cut for new kickers. Badgley, obviously a lot newer at that point in his career to the NFL than Vizcaino, or than Hopkins, I should say, who's a vet. But it's just kind of weird to see this move because Tom Telesco does not do it that often. But I'm happy it happened.
Yeah, no, I'm happy it happened too. Unfortunate for Vizcaino, he did win it outright, I guess, not by much, but he did win the job, so he deserved to be there. But the trajectory of the Chargers team has changed. I think we all thought, could definitely make the playoffs, but while I think Super Bowl is probably still rich, they do want to push for that Super Bowl. They are much further along. 4-2 is better than any of us expected, and now they can't wait to let's see if he develops. And then a few games down the line, oops, he didn't. But one thing I wanted to get into is the whole edge pressure situation on kicks or extra points. I think a lot of Chargers Twitter brought that up. It's like, oh, well, they need to, and they do. I think they do need to solve that issue. But I think everyone kind of wanted to find some blame for the reasons he was struggling. So I wanted to reach out, and I asked someone, an expert opinion, talked to an NFL kicker who would know something about kicking. And basically, here's what he said regarding the edge pressure. It doesn't matter. There could be zero. I'm quoting him. There could be zero pressure, or there could be within inches of blocking it. What happens in front of the ball after it's snapped is not on the radar of the kicker until after the ball has left the foot. I trusted all the guys who blocked for me, so that was never a concern of mine. Watching kicks on TV is different than being in the moment on the field kicking it. It may look like there's pressure off the edge or from the middle, but oftentimes it's never as close as it looks on TV. If that ball crosses the line of scrimmage without a tip, then they weren't close enough. So while it's possible that the Chargers do give up a blocked field goal, and by golly, they're playing the Patriots, so if there's any game, it could be this one. But that is not really, it shouldn't be the reason he was struggling. He was just struggling because Tristan Vizcaino was struggling. He's a rookie.
Yeah.
And hopefully he'll work things out. He is on the practice squad now. They will develop him, and maybe there's their kicker next year. And if he's their kicker next year, I have some confidence in him. I feel like these issues are pretty fixable. So I think he can be fine moving forward. I believed in him coming into the season. I'll probably believe in him more next year after some humbling, maybe some time on the practice squad. I don't know what their plans are for him, but obviously they're going to develop him. So if he sticks around, great. But if not, they have a veteran, because these teams playoff bound. And when you play these really good teams in the playoffs, the run defense is a whole different story, but at least get the field goals, get the extra points, so you don't have to worry about giving up 42 points in the run game.
Yeah, and you reached out to a kicker. I reached out to our friend Al Galdi, who came on the show to help us preview the Washington game in week 1 about Dustin Hopkins, because I know that there were some people who are like, oh, like this is barely an upgrade. And it's like, well, Hopkins is a veteran presence. Like, he's been there, done that. And, one of the things that Al mentioned is that Hopkins has traditionally started slow and then come on strong. And he mentioned last year, that game at Pittsburgh, where they really needed to win that game in order to kind of, go on that upward swing towards the playoffs. And they don't win that game without Hopkins. Hopkins was really clutch in that game, hit a couple of field goals down the stretch in the fourth quarter. And so he was saying that, Washington's decision to cut Hopkins was rather puzzling, that, he's been on the team for a really long time. He's outlasted several coaching staffs. They knew who he was. They trusted who he was. And now you have this other kicker who comes in, and in the first game, this other kicker misses an extra point, misses a field goal. So it was not a good scene in Washington when they cut Dustin Hopkins. So I'm not saying he's an elite kicker. I'm not expecting him to become Justin Tucker all of a sudden, but he is a stabilizing presence at the position. I would have confidence in him going out in the fourth quarter with the game on the line, or with the potential to tie a game. And I think that really is the biggest thing, is that from Vizcaino or Badgley, none of us really had that confidence that, those kickers would go out there in crunch time and make the kick. So Dustin Hopkins seems to be an upgrade. And Brandon Staley mentioned as well, we all know how important kickoffs are to them. Hopkins has a very great, touchback percentage at this point in his career too. I think it's at like 70% for his career. So they're not really losing anything in the kickoff game either, which I know was important to Coach Staley.
I do think it's funny that going back all those months, me and Tyler had that Michael Badgley, P.F. Chang's bet. And not only has Badgley been cut, but the guy who beat him in the competition has been cut. So, that bet is like super dead at this point. But yeah, no, I think, they just had to kind of do it. And people have talked about like, oh, well, he's missed a couple extra points when it comes to Hopkins. And, what do you do if he misses a couple extra points? Go find another guy. Like, this isn't that hard. You could just keep plugging and chugging until you find somebody. Like,
Well, that doesn't always work, and we know that.
Well, the difference between Tristan Vizcaino and Younghoe Koo is Younghoe Koo was 22, 23 years old. And Tristan Vizcaino is, 26? Like, I don't have that much confidence in him developing at this point, at least into something else. But, like, I don't know, like, you can just keep finding guys. The problem with what they did with Badgley for so long in 2019 and 2020 was that they brought in no competition until this year. And that's where he was, right? So, like, like Craig says in the chat, like I want to know what it feels like to not have to watch the extra point after the touchdown. Like that's so true because it's been every single season for the Chargers with this stuff. So I just hope that it's fixed. And I can't believe it's been 11 kickers in like what 6 years. That's rough.
In 4.5, dude. Joe Reedy said since 2017, since they moved to LA, they've had 11 kickers, and Hopkins is the 12th.
That's like average of 3 kickers a year.
Yeah. So I try, like I went, through my head, and I was like, okay, there was this guy and this guy. So I'm curious your guys' thoughts here. Initially, when you read that stat, how many could you name without looking?
I didn't do that exercise.
No,
I'm not going to do it here under pressure, but I could. So you said 11. I could probably do 9 or probably 9. Although I saw that you mentioned Kaiser as a kicker, right?
Yeah.
So that technically counts as one.
Kaiser
So I would
had
have
the
missed
Dallas
that.
game.
Yeah, I would have missed that, but I saw you mentioned that, so I could probably do 9, get an A-ish.
Yeah,
I think I got 9 or 10 or something like that, but I totally forgot about Nick Rose and the awful Jets game that he had, and he was just never heard from again after that. So that was the one I think I missed.
Yeah, I missed Rose and I missed Kaiser at first glance because I was like, because I knew that obviously we knew that Ty Long, kicked last year,
Mhm.
and so I was like, okay, I'm missing 2 more, and I couldn't for the life of me figure it out. And then I remembered only because of the GIF of Drew Kaiser missing the whole net when he was warming up, which I think is still hilarious. So, regardless, I think, I'm excited to see Dustin Hopkins. I'm excited to see Andre Roberts in this one. If either of those two make a really impact play, I'm going to be starting to chant for, whoever it is. Like it's going to happen, standing ovation. I can't wait to make that happen.
I will say,
absolutely,
like what Tyler said, when it comes to like just blocking and special teams coverage, like they're not off the hook yet just because they fixed their kicker and their punt return situation. With Roberts and Hopkins, like to me, those guys need to start playing better because, like Tyler talked about, it only takes a little bit of a lack of discipline in this Patriots team to result in a blocked field goal or something like that. So to me, I hope this brings special teams from I haven't even looked at the DVOA. I'm too scared to.
They're 32nd.
33rd.
32nd would make sense. That would check out. But if they can get from like 32nd to 20th, I would hope for that. But that would be serviceable. I mean, to me, also for that to happen though, they do need their special teams, players to be better rather than only their specialists, which we as fans focus on a lot more.
Yeah, no, that's a good call. The Chargers are dead last in kick return average by like a full yard. They're long of the season at 24 yards, which is the second worst in the league. 8th worst punt return average with a long of 10, which is the second worst in the league. If they just got their punt return average up by like a yard, they jump, I think, 9 or 10 spots in the rankings. Just a little bit more from Robertson, and it would be so much better. So it is going to be a team effort for sure. And hopefully they get it right this game.
Yeah, hopefully. And I liked how Roberts yesterday said, like, I don't really believe in fair catching. I want to be aggressive. I want to go make a play. And I was like, all right, here we go. We actually have a real punt returner now. So, couldn't stand for the life of me when Brandon Staley, went out of his way to mention Cordell Patterson. But really excited about Andre Roberts for sure. That was a slap in the face. But Andre Roberts,
very frustrating. Yeah, I saw you tweet that like, oh, I really respect Hall of Fame punt or kick returner Cordell Patterson, who was a free agent that I've known from 3 different colleges in the NFL. It's like, dude, and KJ Hill and Roundtree, that was your option. Whatever, past is the past, I guess.
Yeah. So we're gonna move on now and get to the specifics of this game. Before we do, have to give a shout out to our sponsor, TickPick, who is the official ticketing partner of the Guilty as Charged podcast. You can use the link in the description below for a $10 discount on your first purchase. I know that there are a bunch of people listening right now that are dying to go to a Chargers game. Maybe you're on the East Coast getting ready for the Eagles game next week, or maybe you're going to the Bengals game in Alex's favorite town of Cincinnati. Whether you're going to a game on the East Coast, in the Midwest, or in LA, please use our link to get a $10 discount on your first purchase. That being said, let's dive right into this game with the biggest storylines of the week. I think, we can talk about a lot of different things here. So I'm curious to see where you guys are going. Tyler, we'll start with you. What is the biggest storyline that you are focused on ahead of this Chargers and Patriots game?
Yeah, to me, it's going to be the first down offense. Brandon Staley says they're looking to be more explosive and more aggressive on first down. And then Austin Eckler, who's apparently hurt now with a hip injury, he called out the running backs behind him. He said, "Hey, does anyone want to step up and be an RB2?" So there's a ton of pressure on Lombardi, Herbert, this offense, the running game to get going. And as it pertains to, being more aggressive on first down like they want to be, I've been reviewing and charting the first down calls, and they've only thrown a deep pass, non-play action pass on first down 6 times out of 95 possible plays. And of the 18 play action passes that they have, I'd say only like a third were a deep shot to like a isolated Mike Williams or whatever. Otherwise, it was like a slide route to the flat or a tight end kind of delayed screen. So let's just say 12 out of the 95 plays were dialed up deep on first down. That's just not good enough, in my opinion. And I get that they're facing a lot of like cover 3. And this week, they're going to face a lot of cover 1, cover 3. But when Justin Herbert's your quarterback, I don't know, what are you doing? Like 33 short passes, not counting screens, which there's nothing really wrong with short passes, but they also speak to another issue, which is the run game on first down being terrible because they have to manufacture a pseudo run efficient play by passing quickly. So, I mean, the run game is bad on the inside. It's bad on the outside on first down. It barely works with Eckler, and it doesn't work at all with anybody else. So if they can run more efficiently, maybe they can ease up on that quick passing game to try to unlock some of those deep passes, I think. So hopefully either the run game or the deep passes or something gets figured out this Sunday because they want to be more explosive. And I'm excited to see how they do that because so far they're very bad on first down.
Yeah, I do think it was kind of funny that Brandon Staley was like, "Hey, I also liked another slow running back that the Patriots got from the draft after I drafted a slow running back who's averaging 2.5 yards per carry." But no, I think that, the matchup for me to watch in this game, or not a matchup, but the storyline is to me Belichick versus Staley. I mean that's kind of the obvious place to go to, but we talked about sort of, I guess there's been a discussion about Belichick being more conservative on fourth down. That's kind of been a storyline throughout the season. He's actually been like the most conservative coach in the league in that regard. Staley obviously having been the most aggressive coach in the league in that regard. So I would be curious to see if there are instances in this game where the two of them will sort of force the other one to adapt. Right. And so you could sort of see Belichick going for it more on fourth down because he's playing, this kind of like Brandon Staley led team in that regard. Or you could, there's always the classic Belichick, "Hey, I'm going to take this one thing away from you. Try to beat me some other way." Right. Whether that's, maybe shutting Keenan Allen down for the game, maybe shutting Austin Eckler out, whatever it might be. And then he'll say, "Beat me some other way." Right. So I think that that's kind of the chess match if there is to watch in this game. So I'm most curious to see how sort of the different styles between sort of like gritty old school but efficient coaching versus the kind of new school analytic based coaching. I'm curious to see how that sort of plays out in this one.
Yeah, we've had a lot of interesting coaching matchups, and I think this is obviously one for Staley to really kind of show what he is against one of the best coaches, in football history, if not the best. So, we've seen him go up against some great coaches so far, and this is a big test for him. I think for me, one of the things that I'm focusing in on this week, and I've mentioned them before, it's the Chargers pass rush, because I think this is a really interesting opportunity for them. A team that's dealing with a couple injuries up front. Trent Brown is not playing in this game. He's on injured reserve, so they're moving Michael Onwenu to right tackle. He's been very solid, but I'm curious about it because Mac Jones is not like an escapable athlete. Like, he's not somebody that's going to get out of the pocket and stretch their or put some stress on them, like Brandon Staley was saying the other day, as some of the other mobile quarterbacks have done. So when I watched the film of the Chiefs game, Uchenna Nwosu was like pretty clearly cage rushing and not getting after the quarterback as much as he was trying to keep Mahomes inside the pocket. So we've seen Nwosu rather play okay to this point. We've seen Kyler Fackrell every now and then make a couple plays. Joey Bosa's getting triple teamed out here on a weekly basis at this point. And so somebody else on this team has to put some stress on the Patriots offensive line, because It was pretty bad last week. I know that Nwosu got the 1 sack, and I know Linval got his sack, but somebody has to take advantage of their one-on-one matchups and keep double teams away from Joey Bosa, especially in this one where you have a rookie quarterback, where you have Mac Jones who's been playing well, but under pressure, he gets significantly worse because he's not mobile. He can't make those plays out of the pocket. So I think you've got to see the Chargers pass rush get after Mac Jones and make him live in 2nd and long, 3rd and long situations and get ahead of the sticks that way. We've seen Brandon Staley blitz a little bit more each week. You're getting Drew Tranquill back in this one, potentially, hopefully. So maybe we see him kind of use that aspect of the defense as well. So the Chargers pass rush to me is the biggest storyline of the week because I think you've got a really good chance to make a rookie quarterback feel stressed in the pocket and put some pressure on him that way.
Yeah, I'm curious overall how the pass rush looks from either side, whether it's from the Patriots, from the Chargers. I watched Arjun's analytics video, and he talked about how the Patriots ran some ridiculous amount of stunts when they played Herbert last time. And I believe their pass rush win rate was like 80-something% that day on those stunts. It was like, how is that even a number? That means you're basically winning every single time almost, but they did. And we saw the result of that. The results were terrible. So yeah, hopefully Drew Tranquill is back. I believe the only sack Bosa had against the Ravens was with White blitzing behind him, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So someone like White or Tranquill, or if Campbell's getting more run now these days, have him blitz. Some sort of manufactured pressure that way, I think would be great for this team.
Yeah, I think it would be great for the non-Joey Bosa defensive linemen to prove that they have a pulse. I think that that's a real key coming into this game because I haven't seen Uchenna Nwosu and Kyler Fackrell and all those guys really do all that much in the last few games. To be honest, Jerry Tillery is what I don't. I mean, oof,
hey, Brandon Staley said that he's a factor.
Oh, he's a factor. I did think it was funny. Not to spoil who Steven has the interview with tomorrow, but the person in said interview was like, oh, Jerry Tillery ranks, 72nd in pass rush efficiency, so he's a factor. I was like, okay, I think we have very different definitions of what factors are, but okay.
Factor 0.
Yeah. But no. So, Justin Jones is coming back, which is going to be great in this one. I think the defensive line needs that.
Is he? Seems like he is, yeah.
It seems like he is. He hasn't been
activated. Seems like he's trending that way, yeah.
It's hearsay until he's activated. Sorry, I jumped the gun. I'm so excited to get him back that I jumped the gun.
I don't blame you.
But if Justin Jones is back, I do think that's really helpful for the defense, and that sort of opens up other things on the defensive line because, they really need the pass rush help in particular. Obviously, the run defense is one thing, but in this game, I think you have to get after Mac Jones more so than anything else, cause him to feel some discomfort because he has been playing so well recently when the Patriots have protected him. So to me, they're going to need at least one of those pass rushers that are kind of the supplementary pieces to have a game in this one.
Yeah, I tweeted out that statistic yesterday about the run stop percentage of the main 3 ones. If you don't put any qualifiers on Pro Football Focus's and sort it to run stop percentage, Justin Jones is like 3rd in the league at 20%, which is unreal. But he's only had five snaps against the run to do it in. So if you don't put any filters, you'll see Justin Jones up there really high on the list, which is fun. But yeah, let's get into the injury report right now, which I think, obviously we got a little bit of a stressful notification that Austin Ekeler was not practicing today with a hip injury, even though yesterday he said that he has felt better than he has at any point in the season so far after the bye week. So, Alex, do you think there's any danger that Austin Ekeler is not going to play this week, or is this just the same that we've seen just being precautionary with your guys?
No, this is very concerning. A DNP on a Thursday after we find out a hip injury that we didn't previously know exists. Like that's something that's going to be interesting to watch. And also, it's just particularly the situation regarding the depth behind him. Steven mentioned it earlier in the show with Austin Ekeler being like, "Hey, can you guys find someone to play RB2?" and the same week he's added to the injury report, unfortunately. And so to me, he has to play. Like they need him in this game. Honestly, I'm not going to say that they like need him to win, but like it honestly is that dire. I mean, for him to play in that regard, because the backs they have out of the backfield right now, other than Justin Jackson, and he's been so this season, they don't have much receiving value out of the backfield at all. And Justin Jackson has proven, unfortunately, that he can't really stay healthy. And the other two running backs have alternated healthy scratches. So this is really concerning. Like they need Austin Eckler both for speed, I mean, the utility he provides, and just the attention he draws from the defense. Like to me, like this is honestly like a game swinging pick. Like I am expecting to pick the Chargers to win, but if they told me Austin Eckler was out tomorrow, like I might go back on that.
I 100% agree. If Austin Eckler is out, their first down EPA and everything they do is going to be terrible. I don't think any of the first down runs that any of the other backs had, I don't think any of them went for over 3 yards. It is really bad. Like it's just not good. And Kelly has, I think, 0 targets this year, and Roundtree has like 2. And so, I mean, not only do you lose him, Eckler, the runner, but you lose him as the receiver. We talk about, they got to get someone who can help in the receiving game. Now you have just a bunch of Kalen Ballages if Eckler's out. Like, we're technically probably worse than Kalen Ballage at this point in terms of their numbers and efficiency. I'm sure they can be better, but as of right now, they're not that good. And so if he's out, like Alex said, I'm swinging the pick the other way. They really need him to be on the field. If he's not on the field, I really don't feel good about this game.
Yeah, and that just makes things so much easier for the Patriots because, now you can double team. You can probably, feasibly double team Keenan and Mike Williams and essentially force Justin Herbert to use the tight ends to beat him because we haven't seen much from Jalen Guyton. We haven't seen much from Josh Palmer. Apparently, J.C. Jackson said something. Okay, doesn't see much of a challenge from the Chargers offense. All right.
He's given up 401 yards this year as a corner, so I don't know what he's talking about.
Yeah, JC's one of those guys that really likes to talk. So, I'm not super worried, but I am worried about Austin Eckler because, he said yesterday that he's never felt better, and then he didn't practice today with a hip injury. So I'm not super confident in him playing. I wish he wouldn't have said that yesterday because that just is like, okay, well, like what's going on here then? So if he doesn't play, that is going to be a tough one because I liked Larry Roundtree a lot coming in this draft. I like Joshua Kelly last draft. Haven't seen much of anything from them really since, Joshua Kelly's performance in Cincinnati. And Justin Jackson has been my dud like twice and he barely plays. So it is not a good situation. I generally am anti-trade for a running back. But at this point, if Austin Eckler doesn't play this week, I think they probably kind of have to.
Well, if he doesn't play, trade for a running back?
If he misses time, I mean, not if he just doesn't play this week. If he's like gonna miss a few weeks, like I call the Colts immediately and get Marlon Mack out here as soon as possible.
Yeah. There's something to that. I don't know if the opponents warrant it. Well, we'll see how much time he's out for, if anything. I think he'll be okay, but I don't know. Not feeling good about it. It's either out something or nothing with this group. It's either cramp or a back thing and you're out for 62 games, or you're fine. It's just a rest day. So hopefully it's just a rest thing, no problem. Maybe it was just like he had to go see a chiropractor, like a dentist appointment thing that we've seen this week. Maybe it's nothing.
Keenan Allen missing for a dentist appointment was funny.
Yeah, I mean, I hope it's the case that this is just, I obviously hope he plays, but if he doesn't play, I hope it's a 1 week thing and that this doesn't get dragged out because they're, in serious trouble offensively if it does happen. Like he's just such a huge part of their offense and all that. And like, man, I'm thinking about that Mark Ingram to the Saints trade now. Like, if I kind of knew Austin Eckler was going to be out and I knew Roundtree and all those guys weren't going to be good, I might swing that, but it's in the past now.
Yeah, there's still some other options out there if they want to make that move, but this is definitely a very important issue to keep an eye on. Other than that, I know some people have been asking. So Justin Jones is not listed on the injury report because he still has not been activated. If he had been activated, then he would be on there. But like we said, it seems like he's trending towards playing. Drew Tranquil has been limited, so I think that there's a chance that he plays. But until he gets in a full practice, I'm not going to completely say that he is playing. So if he's not able to go this week, then we'll see another week of Eamon Ogbongbemiga and Nick Niemann. Hopefully more Neiman than Ogbongbemiga, but Kaiser White looks to be the healthy one there. And then Nasir Adderley has been a full participant twice this week. So that is really good news. They really missed him last week, which I guess is a good time to talk about the secondary, because Ronaldo Hill, defensive coordinator for the Chargers, of course, has continued to say that Tavon Campbell has earned a role and will continue to rotate with Michael Davis and Asante Samuel Jr. Not the worst member of the Chargers secondary, Chris Harris, but it is what it is. Tavon Campbell is going to be a factor going forward. And I can't say I don't understand why they're doing that. He has played pretty well. I just wish it would come at the expense of a different player, because to me, Michael Davis and Asante Samuel Jr. have also been playing really, really well. And so I understand getting Campbell more reps. I don't understand it coming at the expense of your CB1 by ability and by financial commitment, and the corner that you took in the second round this year, who's been playing really well himself. So, Alex, what do you make of the rotation, shall we say?
It's stupid. I mean, I gotta be honest with you. Now the thing, people know I'm a Sixers fan, so Doc Rivers is my basketball coach, so I'm used to questionable rotations. But when it comes to this situation, like, why you don't rotate corners like this? This shouldn't be a thing. Like, I don't know why this is a thing. Michael Davis has to be out there. He's your number one quarterback. And, we've talked about this to death over the last 3 weeks or so of them like benching guys and all that. The move to make here is bench Chris Harris if you want. Like, I'm fine with that. Put Tavon Campbell on the field in place of Chris Harris. Like, that I'm totally fine with, because Chris Harris has been frankly playing poorly as it is. And, also been kind of dealing with his own injury situations. So if you want to do that, I'm fine. But, like, why are we just, like, weirdly rotating CB1 and CB2? Like, those should be the two things that don't change. Michael Davis and Asante Samuel Jr. should be playing 100% of the snaps, like, or a 95%, whatever it is. Like, they should just not be off the field. Like, this is just a weird decision. I get that they're sort of trying to be a flexible defense, and it's like, okay, well, they've played some running teams, and Michael Davis isn't great against the run. But it's like, from what I've seen this season, like, has Tavon Campbell and Chris Harris been dramatically better against the run? Like, to the point where we just go, oh, Michael Davis, you're off the field. Like, no, of course not. And Michael Davis has become a better tackler in the last 2 or 3 years than he was previously.
Absolutely.
So, like, I don't get this move. Like, you don't rotate and bench guys like this in the cornerback unit. It's really weird.
Well, that's the thing, and the way they phrase it is we're going to rotate guys, but it's not really like a rotation. It's like Davis or Samuel Jr. start the game, and then they just don't play in the second half. It's like, that's not really a rotation as much as you kind of just benched one of those two guys.
Yeah.
Getting Campbell on the field, I get. That's no problem. I have no problem with that. That's understandable. I think he's played well, and he deserves some more snaps. But it's so weird for Chris Harris Jr. to come back so soon. Because apparently it was like a 6-week sort of timetable injury, and he came back in 3 weeks. It's so interesting that they got him to rush back only to take somebody else off the field. Like, if he's injured and you want to play Campbell more, why not let him just kind of chill, get to full health, and then let Campbell take the snaps. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. If he plays well, you do something else, you make a change or whatever. But instead, they rushed him back. And I haven't watched him, so I'm not going to say that I know this, but it sounds like he hasn't been playing well. Like, Chris Harris Jr. hasn't been playing well. Maybe it's because of the injury. Maybe it's because there's something still lingering. This is kind of the week to show us that you're back to health and that you're out there for a reason, that the Chargers coaching staff is correct for having you out there. But this whole situation is just weird. It's not really a rotation. And to be completely honest, this is those three guys, not Chris Harris Jr. Those are your three guys moving forward into the next year. You have two definitely under contract. One's a restricted free agent, so you're pretty much going to bring him back, especially with the way the coaching staff likes Campbell. So let those guys have some run. Like, I get, you're probably loyal to Chris Harris Jr. He probably understands more of the defense than those three guys. But if it's not working out, it's not working out. And so hopefully it's not at their decisions here isn't at the expense of the defense. I don't know what they're going to do. We're about to find out. Hopefully Harris Jr. is healthy and proves us all wrong. but I just don't understand switching out someone like Davis and Samuel Jr., not just for a rotation, but a legitimate benching. I just don't get it.
Yeah, I don't understand it either. And Chris Harris, he's not playing well, like at all. And they're playing him more at safety this year. And so maybe he's not comfortable back there, but there are communication issues with him. There are tackling issues. There are angle issues. There are coverage issues. Like he is not getting the job done to the point where I would rather see Alohi Gilman playing safety as the third safety instead of rotating Chris Harris back there. So to me, like if they play a decent amount of dime, and to me, Chris Harris is not one of the 6 best defensive backs on this team. And so that is my biggest issue about it is that, somebody, kind of jokingly said it earlier in the chat that it seemed like they were playing better without him. That's because they were. The best defensive back game that we've seen, in my opinion, was against the Chiefs. And that was when you had Tavon Campbell and Alohi Gilman rotating in as the 5th and 6th defensive backs. So to me, like that's the rotation that should be. If you want Tavon Campbell on the field more, great. Put him in the slot as the 5th corner. Put him in the slot as the 6th defensive back, whatever you want to do. But you shouldn't be taking out your cornerback 1 on any occasion unless he is injured. Like if Michael Davis is healthy, he needs to be on the field for 100% of snaps because that's just the way football works. Like you're not getting better players on the field when you take your best corner off. So it's confusing to me. And Tavon Campbell's playing well, and I get that, but rotate him in with the worst players on your team, not with the better parts of your secondary.
Right. I just wanted to bring up one more point. Like we talked about sort of like the accountability thing with Patriots-Staley and this defense, So going back to that Browns game, why was Asante Samuel Jr. benched for the miscommunication with Harris that led to the Rashard Higgins touchdown?
Right.
Because Harris wasn't benched. Right. Like it's stuff like that kind of gets into that territory. Obviously, you can't bench your whole defense, but it's just been inconsistent in how they've handled that kind of stuff, which, we've seen consistently this week, how they've handled special teams and how they're trying to go about that. But the defensive decisions when it comes to accountability of a player or just player skill set in general just seem weird.
Yeah. So we'll move on now to hopefully some more positive things. Had to rant a little bit about that because I know the 3 of us were messaging and we were like, what the fuck is going on? Like, this is so annoying. So let's focus in on the key matchups and X factors. And I think I'll start this one off. For me, the key matchup of the day is whoever is going against Keenan Allen. I think, Jonathan Jones was the main slot corner for the Patriots defense, and he was playing like 80% of his snaps in the slot. He's on injured reserve. He's not going to play. And we had seen other players kind of rotate in there. Adrian Phillips, my guy, he kind of rotated in there. Kyle Duggar rotates in there. Jalen Mills rotates in there. And Jalen Mills took a good amount of snaps in there as well. But the guy that they have rotating in, I should have written his name down. I'm blanking right now. But he is an undrafted free agent who they had last year. He essentially has become their main slot corner. And I'm trying to get his name up really quickly.
Williams, Bethel, or Bryant?
Miles Bryant. Thank you. So Miles Bryant is the main slot corner for them. At least that's what it seems to be. And so Keenan Allen, to me, like this is a mismatch regardless of who he's playing in the slot. So this to me is the key point of like Bill Belichick's game plan, right? Is how is he going to guard Keenan Allen? Is he going to double team him? Is he going to put Adrian Phillips on him? Is he going to put Mills, Duggar? Who is it going to be? Are they going to put JC Jackson on the inside and keep Mills and Miles Bryant on the outside? So Keenan Allen, I think rightfully, has, not rightfully, but he was not used enough against the Ravens. And it's been kind of a weird usage thing, and I think they need to get him more involved in this one if they're going to win, particularly if they have Mills or Bryant on him. So this is a key thing to me. How Bill Belichick goes about defending Keenan Allen is one thing that I'll be focusing in on.
Yeah, you completely read my mind on that one. I was going to go with Keenan Allen as well, and I will because that's all I prepared for. I thought you were going to go with the offensive line. So, to me, the Chargers, and they've shown this in that All In. They have Allen do a ton of dirty work in the run game or as a decoy. Yeah. He'll run an out route to free up Eckler on an angle route out of the backfield or a slant to free up Palmer on a hitch or whatever. But it's time to get the dude the ball, especially when the secondary is vulnerable. They sort of responded well versus Baltimore, too little too late, but they had Allen motion, kind of moved pre-snap, and it worked plenty well enough. But he's a top receiver. There's a reason they go to him on fourth down more than anyone. Find that connection. But then again, Baltimore did everything they could to take him away. So will the Patriots? So yeah, that to me, I agree with you. This is the matchup that I'm most excited for.
Yeah, I think you mentioned Keenan Allen and just whoever's covering Keenan Allen, and that's the matchup. I'm gonna raise you that and say go after Jalen Mills repeatedly, because
from experience, I seem
from experience when he was with the Eagles. But he was sort of like, I mean, okay safety with the Eagles. Like he had his moments where he was bad in coverage, but they've tried converting him obviously to the outside corner. He's played a little bit of slot corner this season, and it hasn't been going well because he got kind of blown up in his last 3 games for 41, 58, and 82 yards, respectively. So
CeeDee Lamb gave him the work.
CeeDee Lamb did give him that work, and also has a missed tackle rate of 15.4% on the season, which just kind of means like, hey, if you throw it to Keenan Allen and he makes Jalen Mills miss, like that can be a big play, right? So to me, I think you've got to kind of go at him repeatedly on the boundary, especially because I don't know what they're going to do with Keenan Allen. But like if you ever, I mean, God willing, have a rep with Mike Williams on Jalen Mills, you just have to do it. I don't care what Herbert's other processing thing is. Like they have to install a chip in his brain that just says Mills, Williams, do it like 100% of the time. So yeah, and also in those last 3 games I mentioned, he's given up passer ratings of 115, 125.6, and 146.9. So it has not been pretty for Jalen Mills. So if we're talking about a key matchup, you have to go after him repeatedly, because I think there is some unease right now with the Patriots and specifically how they're using Mills in this sort of outside corner role that's new to him.
Yeah. Tyler, do you
Love
have
it.
something?
Yeah, I mean, they're using him in an outside corner role. Mike Williams is healthy. I also want to see Mike Williams, like other than Keenan Allen, of course.
Yeah.
Mike Williams, I think he has like 39 yards per game the last 3 times he played the Patriots. Like, this is the year you want to show that you can take over and be that sort of number one. Like, you want to get paid like one. If Keenan Allen's being doubled, go out there and kill Jalen Mills. So that would be a good game for him to finally show up against the Patriots. I know it's kind of harsh because the offense typically hasn't with Rivers or with Herbert, but like this would be a really good time to show up.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely a big spot for both of them, because I think, there was just some weird connection issues with the two of them and Justin Herbert last week or 2 weeks ago against the Ravens. So in a non Keenan Allen thing, I'm really interested in how this Chargers defense goes about guarding Hunter Henry, because Mac Jones started out pretty slowly to start the season. Of course, he's a rookie. That's to be expected. But they started to figure out that, hey, like we have Hunter Henry, like we're going to target him. He's going to be Mac Jones's security blanket. And once they started using Hunter Henry more, the offense started getting better. He's got 4 touchdowns in the last 4 games. And we've seen this team kind of struggle a little bit with Mark Andrews. They struggled a little bit with Travis Kelce. They played really well against Darren Waller. So what defense kind of shows up against Hunter Henry? Are you going to see Derwin James against him one-on-one? If so, I like that matchup quite a bit. But are you going to see, like, if Drew Tranquil doesn't play and Eamon Ogbongbemiga or Nick Niemann are in coverage against Hunter Henry, that's going to be a tough matchup. So I'm interested to see how they go about guarding Hunter Henry, who's second on their team in receiving in pretty much every category except for yards. So that is an interesting one. Of course, there's going to be that revenge game narrative too. So that's going to be a fun one on Sunday.
I love that the Patriots signed 2 expensive tight ends. I think they're like one of the lowest 12 personnel like running teams in the league.
Yeah.
And then, we should throw to Hunter Henry. Like, what would you expect? What did you guys get these guys for? But like you said, talking about what kind of defense will they throw at them? Michael Davis is the guy that covers tight ends, and if you're going to rotate him out, good luck. I mean, it didn't work against Andrews, obviously. Worked pretty well against Kelce and Waller. Didn't work against Andrews because he was out. He was out of the game. So hopefully they can at least get him in there and cover Hunter Henry, although that's a much less daunting task.
Yeah, Hunter Henry revenge game is weird because I didn't want him back for $13 million, so he can take his revenge if he would like to.
Yeah, I was listening to the Chargers podcast network today, and Matt Money Smith and Chris Harry were talking about Hunter Henry. And apparently, people within the building of the Chargers were shocked at how much money the Patriots were offering Hunter Henry. And so they were basically saying that once they heard how much the Patriots offered, they were not going to match that offer. So,
well, I mean
They made the right move.
that goes back to the pandemic, because I think before the pandemic happened, they actually had negotiations with him, and then pandemic happened and broke off,
yeah.
and everything kind of went from there with the salary cap and everything. So this weird alternate history of what might have been, but I am comfortable with the tight end group that they have now. That's significantly cheaper.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Parham and Cook give you essentially what Hunter Henry did in terms of production. They give you a little bit more athleticism, and it's been fun to watch. I think they have a really solid tight end room right now, and Brandon said he talked about that yesterday. Okay, Alex, who is your X factor of this game?
I think the X factor. I can't believe I'm gonna say this. I think the X factor has to be Jerry Tillery. Like, I mean, I think he has to come up big in this one. We talked about his struggles against the run and against the pass, but like the Chargers need another supplementary pass rusher. Like, you kind of know what you're gonna get from Linval Joseph at this point. You know what you're gonna get from Joey Bosa. You know what you're gonna get from Justin Jones if he does indeed play in this one. And Owosu and Fackrell have been fine. But like the big variable that's kind of jumped up and down, more down recently from week to week, has been Tillery. We saw what he did against the Chiefs, which was kind of an awesome game from him. But ever since then, it's kind of just been like, I haven't noticed him in the game unless I'm watching all 22, which is a problem if you drafted a pass rusher in the first round. I think he's really got to get involved and be better on run defense, whether that's what Staley was talking about this week with guys, using technique better, which kind of just sounds like a polite way of saying these guys suck ass, but nice. Whether it's that or, something they can change scheme wise in the defense. Like, I just think this has to be the week that he gets involved, particularly because they are playing this running team and because they have this rookie quarterback that has been rattled by pressure when pressure has gotten there. Like both of those things should be an emphasis this week if the Chargers are going to win this game on defense. And he's the one variable that if he has a good game, like that can quickly turn into something special for the Chargers. If he has a bad game, it'll be really noticeable for the Chargers too.
Yeah, that's a good call there. I mean, even against the Raiders, I think that was maybe arguably one of his better games. Even if the numbers weren't there, you see some of the things he was able to do. And of course, the Chargers did a great job stopping the Raiders in that game. He showed up. The defensive line showed up partially because he played so well. My X factor is going to be Chris Rumph, the person that the internet thinks that I hate, but I don't. They really haven't moved him at all, and he's been outside the tackle on all 55 of his snaps. But at Duke, you see, now he's a different body type, it seems like these days. He went from kind of a little more slender and twitchy to now he's just kind of a bigger edge rusher. But at Duke, you saw him play some really great reps against guards, beating guards, rushing the passer. Like we just mentioned, Joey Bosa's only sack against Baltimore came with Kaiser White blitzing on his side. So if Tranquil is hurt or limited, I'd love to see them try to manufacture pressure a different way. We've seen them kind of change things up, whether it's blitzing a DB or a linebacker or moving Bosa to 3-tech or whatever. I'd love to see Rumph do it in a different way. Get him on the field and see what works, because as an edge rusher right now, Rumph isn't really cutting it. His win rate is mid-tier among rookies, but his productivity is the second worst with like a Quincy Roche, I believe. So try something different to get a Mac Jones, something that he doesn't expect, something that they don't expect to be thrown at them.
Yeah, I think that's a really good call, and I would love to see that happen for him and for the team, because I've been, I don't want to say like disappointed, but the way that they are not really simulating pressure has been kind of surprising, because that was something that really they did a great job of with the Rams last year. So I really want to see them get after it this week, and if that's Chris Rumph, then fantastic. The X factor in this game to me, this is where I'm going to talk about the offensive line, Tyler, and this is Corey Linsley. Right. This to me is a game like where this is why you pay Corey Linsley. as opposed to bringing back Dan Feeney or rolling with somebody else or drafting somebody. This to me is a game where you bring in Corey Linsley because he is so smart at the center position. He can really help take a lot of the pressure off of Justin Herbert mentally because he can set all the protections himself. Communication has been, for the most part, very, very good. But last week against the Ravens, we saw the Ravens throw a lot of cover zero at this team, and they did not handle it very well. And part of that is Corey Linsley. Part of that is Justin Herbert. Part of that is Joe Lombardi. So I think Corey Linsley needs to do what he does best in this game and communicate, handle pressures, pass off stunts. And I think this is a game, like I said, this is why you pay Corey Linsley, because last year the Patriots really didn't do a whole lot of blitzing. They just did a lot of stunting, a lot of games, and Dan Feeney and the young interior offensive line could not handle it. So this is a big game for Corey Linsley, and this is one that I had my eye on for a really long time because of him. And so I think we see his effect on this game based off of how they handle these stunts that the Patriots are going to do, handle the simulated pressures and the actual pressures. So to me, this is a big week for Corey Linsley specifically, and the rest of the offensive line as well.
That's a good call there. I didn't even think about that. I mean, Dan Feeney and the way that they struggled versus hopefully how they succeeded against or with Corey Linsley, it should be night and day. So yeah, I'll actually be paying attention to that, and I believe you'll do the offensive line breakdown, so we'll be able to see whether they were able to adjust or work or not.
Yeah, last year when you look at this game, sorry, Alex, Lawrence Guy right now, I think he has like 3 pressures. Against the Chargers last year, he had like 7 pressures and 2 sacks. It was ridiculously stupid how simple and annoying that game plan was for them, but it was just like, it worked, and the Chargers had no answer for it. So Corey Linsley, I'm fairly confident will be better than Dan Feeney in this one.
It was just funny because I was watching Arjun's analytics video this week, which if you haven't watched it, go check it out. But he was just rattling off the names and was like, "Oh, it's Storm Norton and Forrest Lamp and Dan Feeney in this last year's game," and I was like, "Oh my god, that feels like ancient history." And somehow it was only a year ago.
Yeah, and the game last year, like we don't really talk about it a whole lot, but this is when Sam Tevi had his baby. And so we had Storm Norton and Trey Pipkins were the 2 starting tackles for this team last year. So obviously Storm started again, but we get Rashawn Slater at left tackle instead. So
not bad.
Bit of an upgrade. All right, let's get to our bold predictions. We do this every single week. It's been a lot of fun to do this segment. Alex, we'll start with you. What's your bolt prediction this week?
Bolt prediction this week. Gonna take a second to think about it because I forgot we were doing bolt predictions. I guess we hadn't done the show in 2 weeks. Tyler, you go first. Yeah.
Okay. I mean this as seriously as possible. My bold prediction is that the Chargers will have a kick return that gets past the 25.
I'll follow up on that. Hopkins goes perfect from field goals and extra points this game. It's gonna be great.
There we go. Look how excited we get about average special teams play. Imagine if we ever got to see great special teams from the Chargers.
Whoa.
Can you imagine if he converts an extra point?
Amazing. So my bold prediction here, we saw Justin Herbert really struggle against the Baltimore Ravens. It was a rough week for number 10, and I think the bye week, I think the adjustments that the coaching staff will make on early downs, I hope is going to lead Justin Herbert to have a stellar day against the Patriots. I think he goes over 300 yards passing and over 3 touchdowns passing. So I think we see about 350 and 4 from Justin Herbert this week. Can't wait to watch it.
I like it. That would be a huge step in the right direction for the entire organization.
NV Talent is predicting 2 pick sixes. I hope by the Chargers.
Michael Davis gets a pick 6, so he's not benched.
One of the interesting things that I saw in this game, though, is that all 6 of Mac Jones's interceptions have come when he's working the middle of the field. So saw Kaiser White get 2 picks last week. We haven't seen Nasir Adderley get a pick. Maybe this is an Adderley week as well.
I like it.
I would be hurt otherwise. Shout out to Emmy, man. Emmy is a great friend of the show. So we're going to do our league-wide picks, and then we're going to wrap it up with our own predictions. After that, we'll take a little bit of time to take some questions. So if you have a question for us, now is the time to answer it. I think it's... Whose turn is it to go first this week?
I think it's me. Wait, no. Tyler, you went first last week.
No, I went first last week.
Last week.
I went first last week. I know that.
All right, Tyler, you go
Pretty
first.
sure I
I'm
went
not
last.
going through the mental gymnastics of
So
remembering
Tyler,
this.
you go first.
I'll do the gymnastics for us.
Tyler, you go first, and then Alex, and then me. But Alex, update us on the standings first.
Yeah, unfortunately, the Eagles, I hate them. They're the worst team in the world. They cost me a perfect week, and so now I've dropped a game to Tyler. Tyler is in first place at 17-4. I am at 16-5. Steven is at 10-11. Yeah, 10-11. Yeah. I think. Yeah, he went 2-1 last week.
Yes.
Close to 500. He's getting his way back in the game. But yeah, so that is how the standings, which are brought to you by expressvpn.com/guilty, shake out this week.
All right,
nice.
Tyler,
Thank you,
for
ExpressVPN, for bringing us these picks. All right, cool. I got to go first. So I'm going to take the Bengals over the hapless Jets. I don't know who the Jets are starting at quarterback, but it should be very interesting. Then I will take, for my upset, the Lions over the Eagles.
Wow.
I picked the Lions before, but the Lions are due, man. They're due. I think Darius Butler also picked them. I think Darius Butler has been right about like 2 of other teams' first wins, and he picked the Lions to beat the Eagles this one. So I'm going with that one as an upset. And then the other one I'll pick for my straight up win. Let's go with the Rams over the Texans. Really going for some out there picks so far.
Shout out to Darius Butler, friend of the show.
Yeah.
All right, Alex, go ahead, man.
Yeah, great that Tyler's going 3-0 again this week. Awesome. Anyway.
Hey, you never know about the Lions, man.
No, they're winning.
You really
don't.
don't.
Eagles fucking suck. Yes. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna go bold here. Bills over Dolphins. Yeah, that's a really bold one to me. Other than that, okay, I'm still just going through these games. I'll go Seahawks over Jags. That's sort of a bold one because the Seahawks have been playing really stinky.
Yeah.
But I don't think Urban Meyer is going to get the win going all the way to Seattle and with the 12s. I don't think he's going to do that. So I'll roll the dice on Geno Smith again, which I know Steven has experience with. So yeah, I'll take the Bills. I will take the Seahawks this week. And for my upset pick of the week, not a lot of great upset picks. Actually, this is a great upset pick. The Colts are favored by 1.5 over the Titans, so I will pick the Titans over the Colts.
I think it's the other way around.
No,
I was going to say that
ESPN has Colts minus 1.5. They have Indy minus 1.5 right now.
That's a surprise.
That is very surprising.
I will double check this. I will double check this, but I'm pretty sure that the Colts are favored.
Okay.
Is Indy at home? Yeah, yes. It's showing Indy 1.5.
Yeah,
so technically the Titans are underdogs despite being 5.
What a lame underdog pick. Whatever.
Well, what do you mean lame underdog pick? I'm giving what I'm giving. You're the one who tries to like 3-dimensional chess the picks every week, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go with Carson Wentz and like all like you're the one who tries to do this stuff instead of taking like the Rams over the Texans and stuff. So.
Hey, I've learned my lesson, and you left me one of the gimmies, which I'm surprised you didn't take. I'm taking the Chiefs over the Giants as one win. I don't
think that's a gimme. I really don't think that's a gimme.
Okay over the Giants? Come on, you guys. The Giants they're not gonna have Kenny Galladay. They're not gonna have Saquon, and they're not gonna have Kadarius Toney.
Have you seen the Chiefs defense? Like, I mean, I don't know. They have Sterling Shepard.
I mean, listen, I love Devontae Booker, former Utah legend, but come on. I will say
Utah players in this league.
I think that's a gimme.
10 points is a lot. That's what they're favored on, at least on Yahoo. So, but I think the Chiefs will win. I think
they probably win.
It's the Giants. Like, come on. Speaking of the Giants, go get my guy Austin Johnson. Free him. Leading the league in run stops. I need my guy on the Chargers. All right, other pick. I'm gonna go upset pick Vikings over the Cowboys. I think this is a really interesting one. It's at least on Yahoo, the Cowboys are favored by 2.5 games in Minnesota. You never really know that Kirk Cousins is essentially like Philip Rivers 2.0. They're always in these games. And so I don't know. I think that's a good upset pick. Last pick outright. Man, some of these picks are just brutal. I'll take the Atlanta Falcons over the Carolina Panthers as my last one.
Good God.
That's a stinky.
The Panthers,
you're right. It's just
the Panthers are a mess. Like, I mean, you have Sam Darnold who was benched last time, so I mean, the Falcons are kind of figuring it out. I mean, they're really using Kyle Pitts as a receiver right now, which has been really fun to see. Except for Tyler's fantasy team, which I think I have to play Tyler in the next couple weeks, but yeah, so that's gonna be my last one. Falcons over Panthers. What a week.
You don't gotta play me because I already whooped your ass.
Honestly, so weird. Whatever. My team's down in the dumps right now. It's super frustrating, but I'll have some good keepers. So we have another super chat question from NV Talent. How can the Chargers improve their screen game? It seems like they can't get that going at all. It's been weird because I feel like the Chargers have always been a really good screen team, like regardless of who's coaching them. And the Saints, like, they're a great screen team. Like, Alvin Kamara is awesome after the catch. And the Chargers have had some moments, like they had that one really great screen against the Browns on like Michael Schofield's third play, I think it was, where Eckler went for like 30 yards. They've done some really good things with Donald Parham after the catch, I feel like. But I don't know. I'll have to look into that one for Envy. I'll look into that.
I would say just try to connect more deep shots. I mean, like, again, I go back to first down because that's all I've been studying for the last 2 weeks. They only have 5 screen passes on first down. I don't know what the average usually is, but it seems like the teams that are good against defending those, which were the Ravens, where they had 4 of their 5 screen passes the last 4 weeks, like the defense was just sitting there ready to go, and they could just play forward, play aggressive, get them on their heels a little bit, and then try some of those screens as well.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think the screen game would be much more effective if the deep shots they were taking were also effective, but like I don't think opposing defenses like really respect that yet a lot, because they are going for some of this screen action really early in games as part of this like sort of Lombardi feeling out process. So I don't know if there's a way you get it going. I will tell you that the screen game might not go if Austin Eckler can't go. That would be really unfortunate. But yeah, I don't know if it's really, but I think it is like Tyler said. If you get the deep shots going, if you get the long game going, then the intermediate stuff becomes a lot more easy.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that too is you have to get the run game going too. Like, I mean, it's multiple parts, right? Because you have to respect as a defense. If you see screen action, it usually comes after like running the ball. Like it's a play action pass essentially. So I think you got to get the run game going too. All right, let's get to our predictions for this game. Tyler, we'll start with you. Who do you have winning this one, and what is the score?
Yeah, very close game no matter what. I can't sit here and pretend like I think the Chargers are really going to put up a lot of points, but I also can't pretend like this team, if healthy on defense, can't stop the Patriots, even in the run game. I don't think they'll score a ton. So Eckler does change things. I reserve the right to change it. But for right now, I'm going with the Chargers winning, breaking some history, finally winning 23-20. I do think it'll be kind of low, especially if Eckler is, let's say, like 75%. So I'll go with 23-20 in a close game. Go Chargers.
Go ahead, Alex.
Yeah. I'll go with Chargers 27, Patriots 23. I think that they get the win here. But like Tyler said, I reserve the right to change this if, in the event that Justin Jones and Austin Eckler are both inactive, because that would change things pretty drastically. I think that they definitely have a chance to sort of have a game like they did last year, particularly on the ground against the Chargers. Like, that is the really concerning thing. But I think how the Patriots are built now isn't really to do that. And I don't think the Chargers are in as disastrous a position as they were on both like special teams and defense, just completely collapsing last year. I don't think that's going to happen this time around. I also think that towards the beginning of that game, Cam Newton particularly gave them a lot of trouble, just with his legs and all the running he was doing early on. Mac Jones does not have that ability. So, he's going to have to kind of beat you through the air in that regard, in addition to what Damian Harris and those guys are going to do on the ground. So I think it'll be a close game. But to me, this Chargers team is just more talented. And obviously, like, Bill Belichick can scheme around that and take guys out here and there. But I think this is a very different ball game than, the schlock we unfortunately got last year that pretty much ended the whole Anthony Lynn era. So I think it's a very close game. I think it could swing either way based on if you tell me an injury here or there. That certainly would change things. But for the moment, I do have the Chargers winning 27-23.
Yeah, it's a really interesting dynamic, right? Because, you get destroyed by the Patriots at home, but that also kind of catapults your 4-game win streak to close the season. And now you have a chance to bounce back from a blowout to get a win against the Patriots to start, your potential win streak. So a little bit of an interesting game for sure. But I do agree. I think this game is going to be close. 5.5 for the Chargers seems like a lot to me. And like you guys are saying, I think if Austin Eckler is not playing, then that has, a big difference in this outcome. So I think it's going to be close. I think the Patriots will cover against the spread. I think the Chargers will win 24-20. I think we'll see Dustin Hopkins get in on some action. We'll see Nick Folk have a couple field goals too. So going to be a kicker day. If you're into kickers, I guess this will be a fun matchup. But I do think that this, the Patriots offense is kind of built to bleed the clock at this point. It's all about the small chunk plays, death by 1,000 cuts. And so I think we'll see a low scoring affair. But I think the Chargers have just enough on offense with Mike Williams and Austin Eckler, if he plays, to get the job done.
Dustin Hopkins and Nick Folk getting in on the action has to be one of the funnier sentences said on this podcast.
Here we are.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll, if you guys have any questions, please type them in the chat.
Drop your questions and your super chats.
Yes. So, other than that, if you guys don't have questions, then we'll do some final thoughts. So, last call for questions here.
This comes from Super LT 101. Why do I feel like Staley stunted more last year with the Rams than he has with us so far? I know Steven was talking about this earlier in the show.
I think that's an accurate statement. I think it's different, right? Because you have an interior pass rusher versus Bosa, your exterior pass rusher. But it is, like I had said, it's been a little bit of a surprise that they haven't used, stunts and seemingly pressures as much as they did with the Rams, because that was how they freed up Aaron Donald for so many one-on-ones last year. And they haven't really done that with Joey Bosa yet. Maybe that's kind of, waiting to get guys more comfortable in the scheme. I don't really know. Like, they're doing it, but they're just not doing it at the same kind of level that they did with, or that Staley did rather, with the Rams.
Yeah. I would say I think if you're comparing the two, like, Floyd's better than the two other edge rushers they have right now. Donald is technically better than Joey Bosa. And at least 2020 Brockers was better than Jerry Tillery, I think, right now. So you do have more options to do more things with better players.
Yeah, 2021 Michael Brockers is not doing so hot, but 2020 Michael Brockers was doing really good. And I think that's kind of something that, me personally, I kind of overlooked with, like the Rams comparison to the Chargers comparison. Is like, of course, you have, the Bosa and Derwin who are on the same level as Donald and Ramsey, but the Chargers don't have a Brockers, and the Chargers don't have a Sebastian Joseph Day who's like leading the league in run stops right now. They didn't have a Leonard Floyd, so it was a lot of like, you hope the players that the Chargers have can become those guys. But kind of looking back on it, I should have given more, I guess, credit to the Brockers, the Joseph Days and the Leonard Floyds, when talking about, like the Rams' success last year.
We hit us with another super chat, another prediction for an Andre Roberts return for a touchdown, which would, invoke the statue that we talked about being built. So yeah, do you think we'll see him break off a big return in this one?
It wouldn't surprise me, but I think we see him kind of take a little bit to get acclimated to things. But I mean, he certainly has the talent to bust a big play at any time. But just be a little above average, and I'll be happy.
They get to the 17 and it's an improvement. So you can do that, and I'm happy.
From Chris, do you think we'll see a Palmer TD? I would love to see him get in on the action, and I think Palmer would like to see himself get in on the action too, considering the events of Humphrey Mania when Justin Herbert threw that pass. So I think he would like to get back in on it too.
Yeah, it's been a little confusing to see how just kind of like the lack of usage for Guyton and Palmer. Like the offense has mostly been working, right? But I think eventually they're going to have to count on some other guys to, because you can really double team Keenan and Mike Williams pretty much at will, because Guyton and Palmer are not getting the job done right now.
As far as touchdown goes, the next thing, so I'm charting fourth downs right now. The next thing I'll do is goal to go situations. I just don't know how. I mean, Palmer's not stretching the field. He's not the guy that's going to get some sort of big 25-yard touchdown, I don't think, unless they change things, of course. So I think it's more of a goal to go situation. I don't know how often they've been using him down there. How often are they down there? I don't know. So maybe that's where he gets one. I don't see it, because right now he's just kind of a hitch guy.
Yeah, would love to see some more diversity there. Todd Miller, friend of the show, my first game at SoFi. How early should I get there? Any tips for the first timer? Tyler, I'll let you answer that one first.
It depends on what you want to do. I imagine you're going to spend 30 minutes just taking pictures of yourself and of the stadium, because it's amazing. You're going to want to take some time to be a tourist first. If you want to see Thunder Alley, so the game's at 1 or 1:25 or whatever. I think Thunder Alley wraps up around 11:30. So if you want to go there and hang out with all the Chargers fans, get there like 10:30. Even if you're talking about stop by, I think 10:30 would be good. So first time, 2-3 hours, 3 hours if you want to really be relaxed. And there's no point getting to the game, being stressed, running in, not getting the pictures. Just take your time. 3 hours early is totally fine.
Yeah, I would agree with that too. You want to take some time to like see everything outside, go to the team store, walk around. Like the whole thing is just, it's such a spectacle. You want to get to your seats early, watch the warm up stuff. It's really like a crazy action. If you're going to Thunder Alley, looks like he is going to do that. Then obviously the earlier the better. I think if you're into the tailgating scene, then get there as early as possible, because I think Thunder Alley guys do a fantastic job of putting on a good show. And good friend of the show, Rike, is going to be apparently bartending and DJing at the Die Hard Bolt Club tent. So definitely go check him out. Okay, 5 a.m. Got it.
5 a.m.
I think I think people get there at like 7 a.m. though. I think like the big time tailgaters get there at like 7 a.m.
Yeah, check when it actually opens. Don't actually get there at 5. It'd just be you and the rest of Inglewood at 5 a.m. Like whatever you want to do, go for it. But yeah, I would check to see when they open.
Yeah. Not sure if you have parking pass though. If you don't, definitely get one, because it helps for sure. Try to get the purple lot, which is where Tyler has usually parked, or the orange lot, which is where I have usually parked. And I didn't have any issues last time we went with the orange lot. It was fantastic. So definitely get a parking pass. All right, looks like we don't have many other questions. So Tyler, final thoughts on the game, and then Alex, and then we'll head out.
Even though I feel like the franchise has been changed, I feel like this win is at least a stamp of, yes, this franchise is officially changed. I know the Patriots aren't what they used to be, but it's just been a thorn in their side, a monkey on their back, something they can't do. And so beating this team, I really think, shows you that this staff and this quarterback, it's going to be different for sure moving forward. So if they win, I think it'll be pretty good signs moving forward. I think your interview, I can't remember his name, but your interview with the Patriots, the guy who covers the Patriots, he basically said, if they don't win on Sunday, if the Chargers don't win, don't even care about the playoffs. Like if you can't beat the Patriots right now at home, then just ignore the playoffs and get ready for next year. So they need to win this game for sure. If they don't, I have serious questions about the rest of the year.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would just say, like, don't sleep on this game, because I think this is going to be a difficult game. And, you know, when the Chargers were, the Icarus who got too close to the sun when they were 4-1 heading into the Ravens game, I remember a lot of y'all chirping at me when I picked against the Chargers in that one. So, I think you just got to kind of go into this one and, be cautiously optimistic. Like, this still is a good Patriots team, even without Tom Brady there. They have Mac Jones. You still have Bill Belichick. Like, this is a talented team. Even if I don't believe they're as talented as the Chargers, they can steal a game. And I do believe they are capable of it. So I would just say don't sleep on the Pats. But I do think the Chargers will win. Hope they win. I would like to have a win going into the game in which the Chargers will just beat the shit out of the Eagles and get to 6-2. That would be really fun. So hope for the best for this one, and also an honorary. Fuck Boston.
The hatred for Boston, I love it.
Can you do it with like a really like Philly accent though?
Yeah. Let's get the Philly accent.
Fuck Boston.
That was the exact same.
Oh, okay. Overweight, got it. Overweight, not a breath. Got it.
I don't really have an accent. I don't know. It's challenging.
Yeah.
You do have an accent because sometimes they'll say because, like you say because.
Well, I have like the
because.
Jersey Philly speech tendencies, but I don't have like the Philly like sports radio guy kind of voice. I mean, that's like a different kind of like, hey Angelo, we'll talk about how the Eagles are gonna do this week. Sirianni's a fucking stupid ass. Like, I mean, that's kind of something, but it's sort of a mix because I grew up between New York and Philly, so that's like sort of a mix between those two sports radio stations. It's all bad, but yeah.
Well done. Yeah, I agree. This is, kind of a put up or shut up game for the Chargers. We've been tooting their horn pretty heavily over the first 6 weeks, and they have exceeded expectations for us at least. And this is a game that they should win. It's going to be a tough one, right? Like the Patriots, their 3 wins have come against bad teams, but they have played the Cowboys tough. They've played the Buccaneers tough, and they're a good football team. I don't know if they have, like the star power and to, win games consistently at a high level, but they're a tough out. And this is going to be a tough physical matchup. We know that the Patriots are going to run the ball. We know that their offensive line is really good. We know the defensive line is really good. The linebackers are really solid. So this is going to be a tough physical game. And this is going to be a great opportunity for the Chargers to show people that they are legit. Everybody had them from like 4th in power rankings to 10th, 11th, 12th. Justin Herbert's MVP odds took a massive dive after losing to the Ravens. This is a great opportunity to bounce back and show people that you are legitimate. And like Alex said, get some momentum going into Philadelphia next week in a much easier matchup. But, I think the Chargers will win. Hopefully Austin Eckler is healthy, and Justin Jones too, and Drew Tranquil. That will certainly make things a little bit less stressful. But I am expecting the Chargers to show people that they are legit. This is a great opportunity for them, and can't wait to see it. All right, guys, that's been our show today. We're going to do our live Q&A on Saturday. Proceeds from that one will go to helping out our friend Anthony Hopper, who's been supporting the show for a long time, going through a bit of a difficult stretch with his family. So please check that out and on Saturday, and bring some super chat questions that day. We'll be very appreciative of that one. So that's going to do it for us today. We will see you on Saturday, and bolt up.